Our trip to Namibia eventually happened in September 2022, after having been postponed several times due to the pandemic, but it was definitely worth the wait. This map shows our route going from Livingstone to Windhoek via Etosha and several other places. We did the trip in a Sunway Safari big red elephant bus, and the other people on the trip were Mikael, Farae, Debbie, Mike, Anita, Lindsay, Irene, Willard and Matteas. Farae and Willard were our two excellent guides. Of course, being in Livingstone on the Zambian side of the Zambezi, first of all we visited the Victoria Falls. There wasn't a great deal of water, it being September, but the falls were still impressive. Then, naturally, we did the Zambezi River booze cruise. And after that, the logical thing to do was take a microlight flight over the falls. That way we saw them from all angles. It was definitely a bit scary being up in the air in what felt like little more than a deck chair with wings and a motor, but it was great being able to see the falls from above. Back down on solid earth, there were other things like this lizard to keep us amused until we set off on the 2-week safari. A couple of hours west of Livingstone, we crossed into Botswana at the world's only national quadrupoint, where Zambia, Botswana, Zimbabwe and Namibia all meet within 100 metres or so at the Kazangula Bridge, which was opened in 2021 and is now a main north-south artery. We didn't stop in Botswana, but instead drove straight to Ngoma and into Namibia. We spent the first night in Namibia at the lovely Camp Kwando, and as soon as we'd dropped our bags off in our thatched room, it was time for a cruise down the River Kwando and back. cruise was one of the many highlights of the trip, as we got quite close up to the wildlife, including a herd of elephants that decided to wade across the river just in front of our boat. What a wonderful sight. I just want at this point to mention our two Sunway Safari guides, Willard and Farae. You know, these guys worked so hard and made the trip a success. They were up early every morning to make breakfast, and they were the last to go to bed each night after dinner. They bought all the food, organised everything to do with the trip, and drove for hours each day. They were always happy to answer all of our questions about the wildlife, people, plants, the roads and the routes, and everyone in the group really appreciated their efforts.
Donkey needs petrol.
The next night was at Ngepi Camp on the Kubango River and near the Bahango Game Reserve, where we did a game drive and saw various birds and some more elephants. The next day after breakfast, we was back on the road, onto the town of Windhoek and the Nkwazi Lodge. I got a fright when a snake appeared just outside our door, but it turned out to be a harmless reed snake. Later in the afternoon, a local girl took us on a guided tour of her village. This was a fascinating walk, as it gave us a chance to see how local people actually lived. While the village was pretty basic, it was clean and tidy. We saw where alcohol was brewed and where the family spent time together. The girls demonstrated the effort needed to pound maize for the evening meal. The next day involved a long drive going southwest from Windhoek, down eventually to Tarantal, 30 kilometres south of the entrance to Etosha National Park, where we'd stay for 3 nights. The roads were very straight, and the scenery slowly changed to less vegetation and gradually to scrub. It made me think that going on one of these organised group tours is a bit like being in a road movie. You never really know what was coming next. Sometimes you'd doze off for a while, but there was always something interesting to see if you looked closely enough. Eventually the tarmac ran out and we were on dirt tracks. Once in a while we'd stop for a break, for everyone to stretch their legs, or for lunch. Tarantal Guest Farm is a lovely oasis in the middle of the scrub. It had a nice wee pool and its own avian entertainment each evening. The next morning was a very early start as the sun came up in order to get to Etosha when animals would still be active before the heat of the day. And what would you know, one of the first things we saw in Etosha was a pride of lions digging into a recent kill of an eland. Etosha is a wonderful game park, and we saw lots of animals including lions, hyena, rhino, zebra, and of course elephants. But most of the time I just enjoyed watching them, rather than take photos or film clips. The most impressive things was the Etosha Pan, which stretched for many miles into the distance. After we left Etosha and Tanutal, the next stop was at a petrified forest, where we saw some petrified trees, some Welwitschia mirabilis plants, which can be hundreds of years old, and a bright Damara girl gave an explanation of her click language.
Okay, so in Damara we have 4 clicks. It's so it does not mean anything, but we have to use the clicks either in front of a word or in the middle to mean something. For instance, I am going to use all 4 of the clicks in a shorter sentence, which I'll say, which only means let's go to dance.
Following that, we continued on to Brandberg Mountain, the highest point in Namibia, where a short hike took us to the famous White Lady rock art. As a result of taking some time at the rock art, we missed the sunset at Brandberg White Lady Lodge by about 5 minutes. On the road south from the mountain, there are a few shacks, and these wee kids frantically wave empty plastic bottles at passing cars. They were in luck, as Mike had filled all the bottles we didn't need with water from the lodge for them. Not much further on was a little Himba roadside store where we stopped for a few minutes. This incredible place is on a flat plain road to Henties Bay. A narrow straight road runs through absolutely nothing, and it never rains. A little further on, we spent an hour gawking at the seal colony at Cape Cross Reserve. to Swakopmund, a rather strange town with quite a lot of German colonial architecture dating back to the last century. Our guides chose an excellent local restaurant, the Strand, for our evening meal. One of the various optional extra activities was quad biking in the dunes, a terrific experience once you get the hang of the bikes. Kilometres south of Swakopmund is Walvis Bay. There are some pretty fancy houses on one side of the road, and thousands of flamingos on the other. Then it was time to head for the desert. We passed through the area when in 1940 two German geologists decided they wanted nothing at all to do with World War II and went to hide in the desert until, they hoped, hostilities ended. The book that Henno Martin wrote about his experience is called The Sheltering Desert, and a movie was made in 1991. The Creased River is no longer so remote. Solitaire is a settlement in the middle of nowhere, about 2/3 of the way to Caesarea, where we were heading, where the restaurant sells brilliant pastries and coffee. Desert camp was a good choice for somewhere to stay for 2 nights, and each evening the light got really good for taking photos. Although I'd seen photos taken by others of the dunes in the desert, Nothing really prepares you for walking up Dune 45. It's an incredible experience, and once again the light was really good for photos. This was quite a day for new experiences, the next stop being Deadfly, a white clay pan where there are very photogenic dead camel thorn trees. This shows everyone in our group helping at dinner time, which is how the Sunway Safaris work. Final day of the trip saw us driving to Windhoek, the modern cosmopolitan capital of Namibia. Then it was time to say goodbye to the others at Joe's Beer House restaurant and pub. The Sunway Safari would continue for another week through Botswana and back to Livingstone, where Lindsay and I would make our own way north to Odriborongo and then Kavaru for an entirely different type of tour, of Kriokoland. But that's another story which I hope to tell shortly.